everybody, and welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and we're going to take a little bit of a turn today. Normally, of course, we talk about streaming video, but streaming audio and streaming books are also a very big part of the streaming entertainment world. And I got to tell you, I am absolutely super excited today because one of the absolutely hottest fiction writers on the planet, MK Gibby Gibson, is going to be our guest. Now, if you're not familiar with Gibby's work, let me tell you, it is absolutely awesome. He's got a couple of series out there. One, of course, the Shadow Master novels, which are just flying off the bookshelves and downloaded by Amazon as quickly as possible. They've got Villain's Rule, Shadow Master Book 1, Villain's Pride, which is Shadow Master Book 2. More to come on that series. He also has the Hammer of the Witches novels, which are absolutely awesome as well. So we'll put all that down in the show box so that you can find out how to get some of Gibby's books, but highly recommend. And as I said, he is one of, right now, the hottest authors on the planet. And Gibby, we're happy to have you with us on Stream On. Let's talk a little bit about your process as a writer before we get into the nitty-gritty about the streaming aspect of it. So how do you sit down and how do you write, my friend?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, first, obviously you have a concept or an idea, but even before that, you have the desire. You have the desire to write. You just have to tell stories, whether you're a joke teller back in high school or you're just like to entertain people at parties. You have a desire to tell stories. And my apologies to your listeners. I'm a hyperactive coffee drinker, so I talk fast, I think fast, and it's very difficult for me to calm down and tell a story. I'm what you would call one of those hyper people. But when I write, it forces me to slow down. It forces me to slow down and focus, and allows me to tell the stories that I've always wanted to tell. So many years ago, I've been trying to write for a very long time, and I had a stepdad that said you can't be a writer, so I let that stick with me. But when I was retired from the military, I decided, you know what, I love stories, I love fiction, I love to tell stories, so why don't I just actually give this a try? So I'm kicking around some ideas, and one of my buddies has this harebrained thing up his head. He says, I wish someone would write some kind of weird post-apocalyptic and this and this and this kind of stories. That's what I'd like to read. Like, I would too. And then I started playing with an idea I had already, and I started merging the two, and next thing I knew, I had a first draft. And it wasn't good. I went back to this isn't good. So what I decided to do is make it personal. I took my main character, and it's kind of a lot of authors do it the first time, is self-insertion. You put yourself into the story a little bit, or at least elements of your own self, and you write a catharsis. And I set this character in this world, but I knew what story beats I wanted to get to. Whenever you're watching a movie or a television show or even reading a book, you can tell what feels forced and what feels organic, and dialogue is that way. So I like to have, say, 5 or 6 major story beats and just start writing. And sometimes the characters take on a life of themselves. They go about their own little adventures, and before you know it, you're hitting your major story beats, but it feels right. It feels organic. It feels like a life lived as opposed to a scripted play, which beat by beat by beat, you can tell who's done that. So, but you trudge along in your day-to-day life. You crank out 100 words, 1,000 words. I mean, an average chapter is 3,000 words for most novels these days.
Right.
You're trying to crank out 30, let's say 125,000 words equals to be about 375 pages in print. So you're looking at, depending on what your writing style is, 3 to 6 months of just writing, and then you got to do then starts the editing phase where you go back through and say, these are good ideas, these are bad ideas, and then you get handed up to a copy editor who then says, your grammar is horrible, you need to work on this.
Right.
So, and that's actually when the easy work stops and the hard work begins, because now you have to find cover arts. You have to find a distributor. I went through months and months and months of trying to find someone who was willing to give me a chance. And my first book, and I bounced around for quite a while, and I legitimately have a wall of framed rejection letters that I keep up just to keep motivating myself to keep going. But you don't stop writing. Now, I was fortunate that some company picked me up, but over a period of time, about a year, they let us all go. And then another company picked me up because I made contacts. You're nice to people.
Right.
But unfortunately, they let me go. But then a third small independent press who knew of me through another friend picked me up, gave me a shot, and gave me published. So I actually had like a year and a half, 2 years worth of material already written that I could still mine and work on. And the process is like anything else. You make time. If it's something you want to do, you have to just push yourself to, just, damn it, you're going to write today. And even if it sucks, you come back later and just fix what you don't like. Pencils have erasers.
True.
Now, when it comes to like the audiobook aspect, which has been an amazing phenomenon recently, you have to, one, find someone whose voice reflects your work. And the audiobooks have been such a great advent to the writer's world because it elevates the material. Sometimes you can take a bad script and hand it to a good actor, like in a TV show or a movie, and they transcend. It becomes something more than it ever was meant to be. And the same thing happens to a decent book where a great voice performer can elevate the material to something that people want to listen to. They get excited to get on their car to go to work that day to listen to another couple of chapters. And that's what's been amazing for my work as well. Pardon me, I got a little dry mouth.
Well, the other part of this, in many ways, as someone who's written more along lines of biography type books on my own end,
sure.
It's a process that it's always write and edit, write and edit, write and edit, write and edit, write and edit.
Yeah.
And, for every one page you like, there's 3 pages you either change or get rid of. And so when you talk about 100,
as well.
right, when you're talking about 125,000 words, right?
Right.
And if you took that, folks, and just, drove it down to 5,000 words a day, you're still talking about quite a while to make it work. And the other thing is, I would assume in the fiction standpoint, it's the ability to keep a storyline going in your head.
That's what's funny is like if you once you start writing a little bit or you start reading a book, you can almost see where the pen was picked up or this pen was put back down because there's almost a dissonance if you're not careful because you might be in a different place in your head when you started writing, but the chapter might only be 1 day later, but it could be 3 months later in real life when you pick that back up again, and you might be something tragic might have happened in your life, or you just be in a bad mood, and the tone shifts. And so you have to be very careful of that if you're trying to create a story. And the other part is what you're trying not to do is just be too derivative. I mean, what do they say? There's nothing new under the sun, and there's only the same type of stories where it's either man versus man, man versus self, man versus environment. So how do you retell one of those stories in a way that's engaging? And you try to put it through these characters that are more than just two-dimensional. And are you a fan of movies by any chance?
Of course.
Okay, so Lethal Weapon is one of my favorite movies, not just because of the action, not because but when Mel Gibson was playing that Martin Riggs character, you first think, he's a crazy psycho cop. Okay, that's fine on paper, but there's a scene where he is sitting in his trailer thinking about his deceased wife, and he's playing with his gun. Now, this was an unscripted thing that Mel Gibson did because he was thinking about his character and the cameras were rolling.
Right.
And there's a moment where he put the gun in his mouth, then took it out and hit himself with it. And there was a pathos to that character that went beyond the two-dimensional shoot-'em-up bang-bang. There was something always boiling beneath the surface. Now, how do you put that in the printed word? And that's the kind of character you want to make that's memorable, something that 30 years later people say, I remember this character and it touched me. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, but it stays with you. And that's hard.
Well, it's like Peter Benchley when he wrote Jaws. Peter Benchley in the book Jaws, right? The character that was played in the movie by Richard Dreyfuss dies. The shark kills him.
Right.
And when they went to the movie, Benchley wrote two separate endings. And one was the ending that was the book ending, and the other one is where the Dreyfuss character lived. And so they went out and they tested it with audiences, and the audiences hated the ending of the book, but they loved the ending where Dreyfuss hung in there. And Benchley always said, he didn't know whether it was the fact that he didn't write the end of the book properly, or that Dreyfuss acted so well that they wanted to keep him around. either way, there was a change in that. But, there's not changes in audiobooks. And that's the beauty of that. The story is the story.
But that comes back to the point. What I was saying earlier was like the performance elevates the material. Mm-hmm. And I have a phenomenal, one of my primary narrators, his name is Jeffrey Kafer, and he's a phenomenal voice actor. Mm-hmm. He's a SAG-AFTRA member. He's got 400 plus books under his belt. But he has such great comedic timing for my comedy books, but he also has such a gravitas when it comes to one of my more action or serious books, because he brings a weight to it that he understands the character. And it's later on, the first season television, writers write and the actors act. Become the second season, they know what the actors can do. They write to their strengths. So now when I write a book, I'm still writing the ebook, but I'm also writing specifically thinking about the audiobook. How will Jeff Reed perform this material? And I'm writing to his strengths. So I know how he can deliver a joke or how he can add a dramatic line and with the weight and emotion that I intended when I wrote it. And that's a great partnership. And that's why people have keep coming back to audiobooks. I mean, I don't know if you know, but, this is on Amazon, let's say on Kindle, their ebook store, there's something like 3.5 million ebooks out there.
Right.
Depending on which site you look at. But if you look at, I think it's 3.3 million. Well, Audible has about 425 to 475,000 books. That is a vast, smaller number. So these people are voracious, though. One of my books, my best-rated book right now on Amazon, has, I think, 82 reviews, which is nice. And on Goodreads, it's like 100 or let's say 400 reviews. That's even better. But
hey, Gibby.
Yeah, brother.
I was just going to say, you can mention the name of your book. Please, God, do. So don't shy away.
I'll jump to that.
Yeah, tell me.
I'll jump to that in a second. But on Audible, I have like 1,100 reviews, and so I wrote. I have 3 different series right now. One series is the Technomancer series. The first book is called "Defeat the Devil," and all the books in that particular series are named after a Johnny Cash song from my love of Johnny Cash. Mm-hmm. And then my second series is the Shadow Master series that our mutual friend Glenn first came across, which is a comedic villain story. It's a story about a villain advisor who goes to these weird fantasy realms and other realms and teaches their villains how to be better. But the character is a jerk. He is a villain. You're not supposed to like him, but he's written comedically and charmingly that you do like him despite the fact that he's a jerk. Right. And my latest book is it's through the lens of it's my first female-led story, and it's this girl. It's through addiction and strength, and she is cursed with she had a blood transfusion at a young age of witch's blood, and it's one of those kind of urban fantasy stories that you would see, but it's people responding to that because it's a character she's not beautiful, she is average, she is strong in spirit and will, and that's what people are responding well to that character, and that's what I like about her. And the Technomancer series is set after it's set after the biblical apocalypse, because I grew up in the church and the book of Revelation scared the hell out of me as a kid. And I always wondered what would happen after. So I wrote a story basically what would happen if hell rose and took over, what would mankind be like. So it's a mix of technology and magic and demons and angels and all that stuff. And people, despite the crazy nature of it, people seem to like it because the character is grounded. So, and it's been, I don't know, it's a crazy ride, and when people reach out to me and say, I like your books, I still feel like a little kid, like, you like me? That's so weird. I've only been doing this for 2 years now, but I've got a small little following starting up, but it feels good to touch others and let them know I entertain them. Just the way I would reach out to authors that I knew in the past and say, hey, you entertain me. Thank you very much for your hard work. It's appreciated. It's just a good cyclical nature.
Sure, and I think that anybody who takes the time and the effort to put into a book or a TV show or a movie or whatever, whenever the audience, or someone specifically one-on-one comes to you and says, hey, I really enjoyed what, the show or the book or the movie or whatever, it's not often we get to connect with the audience. And if the audience is, walks up and physically says, hey, Gibby, I love the book, that means something. And even if they're doing it in a comment, even if they do it leave a message in a comment section, I mean, I'll go through my comments and go, thank you, or if there's some constructive criticism in there, I will accept it willingly. Or if there's somebody, telling me, by the way, I heard that show, or I watched that television show, or I read that thing and it sucked. It's like, I'll take, I'll go, hey, all I can do is try. I appreciate, what is it that you didn't like? Maybe I can fix it next time. So I'll even engage with people who may not have liked what I did. But,
I reached out to this one girl. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I reached out. This one girl reached out to me and said, I really didn't care for this book via like a Goodreads interview or something like that, or a Goodreads review. And I reached back to her and said, well, then I am sorry, and I've been trying these type of things. It was my first book, my first attempt, but I would recommend you try this one. And if you don't, you know what? I will buy you. I'll send you a free Audible credit to make up for it, because I don't want you to walk with a bad taste in your mouth.
Right.
And it's not. I was taught in the military, if someone's taking the time to talk to you, give them your attention and respond. Granted, if I go down the line and I become big, I can't do it with everybody. But the whole reason we're talking right now is because someone was nice enough to reach out to me and say, I like your book. And I reached back and said, hey, sir, thank you very much for your time. What do you do for a living? And we just started talking. And it's our mutual friend, Glenn, and it just put me in contact with you. He's like, I like you. I want you to meet my friend, Jim. And now here we are, because you take the time. And that's an amazing thing. That's a human contact moment, because a lot of writers are actually afraid to talk to other people, and writing is their only voice.
We'll be back with more of Stream On right after this. Hey guys, got something to tell you about here. Now, let me ask you something. Do you have the Vivid Seats app downloaded on your phone? Seriously, check. Well, I'll tell you what I do. Why? Because Vivid Seats is an online ticket event marketplace dedicated to providing fans of live entertainment with the experience of a lifetime. Now, with Vivid Seats, you can find a seat to any of your favorite live events. Doesn't matter. It can be sporting event, concerts, theater, and much, much more. Now, let me tell you what happened with me. In the past week, I have booked tickets to see Sting, Les Mis, Leonard Skinner, the Washington Capitals, and the fourth time I am seeing Hamilton. That's right. Did it all from my Vivid Seats app. Now, that's pretty amazing. I planned my entire fall entertainment. I didn't leave my house, didn't have to wait in line to get the tickets. All I had to do was look at my Vivid Seats app. And frankly, I'll tell you something, folks. I got these great seats, but I could have sat anywhere. There's so many amazing options that Vivid Seats provides you. You literally can pick any seat in the house and nail it, okay? Not a problem. Vivid Seats offers great prices, and it's easy to purchase, all right? Very, very simple. Now, got a deal for you, so pay attention, okay? With the podcast code Williams, Stream On listeners can receive 10% off your first purchase at Vivid Seats. Let me repeat that. With the podcast code Williams, Stream On listeners can receive 10% off your first purchase from Vivid Seats. How about that? It's pretty cool, all right? All you got to do is go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, put it on your phone, then enter the promo code Williams to receive 10% off your first purchase from Vivid Seats. Now, all Vivid Seats are confirmed orders and are backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, okay? So here's what you need to do one more time. Go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, enter my promo code name, Williams, and you get 10% off your first purchase with Vivid Seats. Okay, guys? Do it today. Highly recommend, as I told you, plan my entire fall entertainment right from my phone. Doesn't get any easier than that, folks. Download Vivid Seats today, okay? More conversation right here on Stream On. Let's talk again a little bit more about your books and the impact that the streaming concept of streaming audio, in this case, streaming audio books, has had on how you actually write at this point in time. It obviously affects it more because seemingly you write now that when something, it's almost like a living script, if you will.
Yes, it very much is. When you're writing specifically, I mean, there are some authors who have just strict audiobook only because it's we live in a world now with how many people how often do you listen to music on your drive anymore, or do you listen to podcasts or talk? I mean, talk radio has made a comeback. Podcasts are making like a huge comeback. Even like podcasts that are sillier, that are like a throwback to radio plays. People still like the spoken word, just in different forms. And audiobooks, since we've got away from books on tapes or books on CDs, now everything's digital. It's a lot easier to carry dozens of books with you or hundreds of books with you and listen to them and be entertained. We are, as a culture, we love that, and streaming services have made it so easy to get that to the people that want to hear it. And I'm very fortunate to be living in a time now where I can do that, where I can tell a story and find a good narrator and who we work together to create a product that makes people happy or sad or scared. And that's what any writer really wants, is just to tell a story, entertain someone, and then just thank you for listening to my tale. And oh man, it's been a hell of a ride.
Well, it's funny because you basically said 3 items that all could be in one book. I mean, so. But I think the fun part of what you write, and I had the pleasure of checking some of it out, is that it's entertaining, it's escapism, but one of the things that, to your point, that is great for me is that I have the apps on my phone. I can listen to it when I have a second to listen to it, and that can actually be listening to it while I'm having cereal in the morning. Then take it in, put it in the while I'm shaving and getting ready, and I can't do that with a book. And as much as I love books, I can't. But this gives me that opportunity to do it. And I think that one of the fun things about your stuff is that it's escapism, but there's a tinge of reality in it. And I think that's the cool part.
I get back to my point earlier was you have to write characters regardless of your setting.
Right.
Regardless of your setting, you want characters that relate to people. Even if your characters take the modern movie era with superheroes.
Right.
Even though it's a fantastical world of superheroes and the Marvel movies, most of the Marvel movies, which are my particular favorites, the Captain America character is so earnest and so grounded that despite being stronger and faster and smarter, he's just a guy that hates bullies, whether they're thugs on the streets or the government themselves. He does not like bullies, but he's such an earnest, affable human being that you can't stop watching him. And the same thing with the Iron Man character. Yes, he's flying around in a suit of armor with rockets and lasers and all that's fantastic. But you have a person who's afraid of becoming his father. You have a person who is trying to live into his father's shadow, who doesn't want to be a person of death anymore. And these are the type of people that relate to us. I mean, male or female, the stories, a human being trying to overcome and be better will always resonate. That's why from Gilgamesh to now, the stories of our mythologies will always come back in some capacity, and that's why it's great to be a storyteller. But you can either write a dumb story about just someone who's kicked down doors and moved guns. Yeah, that's fine. That is a moment of escapism as well. But if you want something that lasts, write a story about a character that has a joke or two, but has action, humor, and heart, and you're gonna get positive returns mostly.
For those of you out there, please. I was just gonna say, for those of you out there, no problem. What I was gonna say, for those of you out there, by all means, begin to Google the word the name Gilgamesh. You'll find out. You'll find out a little bit about Greek mythology. Anyway. The next level, we're talking about you. You're someone who's hot. You're new. You're getting a really good following. But even the Tom Clancy's of the world and the major James Pattersons, all of them, name them all, and everybody is warming up very comfortably now to the audiobook. It's not cannibalizing something; it's actually enhancing sales.
Well, books on tape back in the day when I was a kid were something of a joke. She had 13 tapes for a book. I mean, I remember when my mom bought the commemorative Bible book on tape, which was something like 170 cassettes. and you're never going to spend the time to listen to those or switch them out or pick up where you left off. But I guess since everything's digitized, you can like you said earlier, you can listen to it while you're in the shower or on the toilet or in your car. It goes wherever your phone goes or whatever your device happens to be. And it gives opportunities to those. And not to mention, you also have people with disabilities can listen to the story as opposed to reading it in Braille. It just people who have a harder time mobility-wise getting out. It puts access in people's hands in ways that we've never had before. And again, since the audiobook pool is smaller, when people are paying $20 or $25 for an audiobook, they're going to commit to it a little bit more than a $1 ebook or a $4 ebook, which are still great sales. But there is a value to your dollar. And the voice artists, performers, they're not doing it for chump change. They're doing it for either they get paid off of the royalties or you pay them up front. But they're professionals. They want to tell a good story. If they give bad performance, that follows them, and they don't want that either. Jeffrey Kafer is a phenomenal voice actor who is just he keeps getting work because he's good, because he reads each book like it's Shakespeare or Hamlet. He wants to perform in such a way that you remember that voice, you remember that actor, and you get excited to hear it again. And that's why even the big names are putting themselves back into the audiobook market, because who doesn't love being told a story? Who doesn't want to sit around the campfire and have a story told to them?
Well, to your point on that, even some of the actors, Kelsey Grammer and Anna Kendrick and others, are embracing the fact that reading books and being involved in, the new streaming audio platform doesn't hurt them. As a matter of fact, they benefit from it.
Oh, very much so. I was one of my books, my first Villains book, the comedic action one, Villains Rule, was up for an Independent Audiobook Award. It got to the finalists. It didn't win, but it was an honor to be nominated. But there was talk like maybe we can try to get onto one of the actual audiobook awards. And I was talking to Jeffrey Kafer. He's like, do you want to try to put this in the comedy section? He's like, no, it's hilarious, but people, you're gonna lose to whatever like Amy Poehler book or Tina Fey book is being read.
Right? Yeah.
Even those actors and actresses, they're reading their own book, and they're
Amy Schumer, right? Yeah, you want to be up against Amy Schumer in the comedy category.
No, I do not.
Don't blame you.
Yeah, but streaming services have been truly a godsend to those who've been wanting to tell stories. They're the gatekeepers of the original television networks, and the gatekeepers who gets what book have been removed by the advent of the internet and streaming services as a whole, because now even a little retired master sergeant like myself, who just likes to tell stories on the side, can have his voice heard. And that's not restricted to anybody. If you want to do it, it is possible, but you have to want to do it, and you have to put in the work. It's not going to fall in your lap. If you put in the work, you can at least have a product say, I made this. This is mine. And maybe you'll like it too. And that's what's been such an amazing accomplishment feeling. So now my 6-year-old son, who says, Daddy, are you going to be working on your books more today? I'm like, no, I'll close the laptop, son. Let's go play.
Right. So everybody's got to have a little quality time. No question.
Of course, I don't want him to see just Daddy with his nose in his laptop all the time.
Right.
But he does like the fact he walks by the bookshelves and like that, or he'll see the audio book, little things like, "Hey, Daddy, that's your book." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, it is." And you're too cute, but you can't read that till you're at least 27. There is no way I'm letting you read that.
But if you have friends,
send them. I throw it to my friend. Exactly. If you want to
your parents,
tell
your friends' parents, by all means, check out the book. The situation with regard to genres and such, you were just talking about it. You seem to be one of the reasons I think you're one of the hot rising stars is that you've picked some genres that really are underserved. And certainly underserved when it comes to the streaming area. I assume that was not by design, but it certainly has worked out well.
Well, that's the other thing. The beautiful thing about the streaming services niche, however you say it correctly.
Right.
It allows someone. You don't have to have, like, say, and this is not to disparage The Big Bang Theory on television, but you don't have to be as broad a humor as that. You can have a more targeted, focused type of action or humor or whatever you like. And there's probably an audience out there who enjoys something. You know, my one book series, which is my more serious one, it is like I said, it's technological meets biblical meets supernatural, and that is a very unique place that people are like, I'm not sure when they read it, they like it or listen to it, but you have the opportunity to create something that probably would not have made it 5-10 years ago and get it out there in such a way that this is a genre that maybe people would want to explore. You know, same thing with, you know, comedy, of course. Now, comedy about a villain, okay, now I'm listening. I mean, think about it, how long ago the zombie genre comes and goes every 5 years regardless. So,
right.
I mean, escapism is something that people do like, and that's not to take away from who are writing, you know, nonfiction or standard fiction or, you know, like, tell a good story and people will come to it. And, you know, box office sales and book sales and movie sales prove that.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you're talking about zombies. We did a podcast a few months ago. One of my favorite television shows is a show that literally, you know, not a lot of people had an opportunity to watch it for some reason. It's called iZombie. It's a CW
I
show.
love iZombie. We can talk about that whatever you like.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. And it's well written, and, you know, what's not to like? I mean, you know, and again, one of the great things about the streaming aspect of it is that just like you have a television show or a music situation or whatever, you could, but it's books are, I know I'm going to say something stupid, and that is books are on demand. Well, of course they're on demand. I mean, you pick a book up, you can, you know, you've got a bookmark in it, and you pick up where you left off. But that is also the case in the streaming situation where you stop a book and you pick it back up, and, you know, on audio, it's a bit easier to pull that off than it is in the standard written text. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not advocating that people quit reading books by no means.
No, books will never go away. I mean, there's something sacred about it. Yeah.
Right. And there's something wonderful and tactile about holding a book in your hand and reading it. But, you know, as time crunches on, you know, there are things you can do. You can literally share. I know a lot of friends who will be, you know, do a carpool or they're taking a train together, and they literally listen together to the book. Now, it would be physically impossible for them to read the book together. So you get audio book clubs where they're all listening to the same book at the same time, and then, you know, commenting on it. So there's different ways, and it's changed the way that we consume everything, whether it's consuming movies, consuming television, consuming music, and now consuming, you know, the written word.
Can I share a quick story with you?
Sure. Could be a long story. I don't care.
This one will be regardless. I got a fan of mine was on my message board on my Facebook page, and I had put up that my latest Technomancer book, Angels and the Bad Man, had just come to audiobook. And so my fans were like saying, "Hey, great, can't wait! Oh, good." And this one girl popped in. She's like, "Damn it! I just used my last Audible credit already for this month. I'll have to wait till next month." Well, I feel like a dad. I'm like, so I reached out to her private message wise and said, "Hey, would you like it now? I will give you a free credit, provided all you do is just tell your friends about it. That's all I ever ask. If I give you a free credit, just tell a friend and leave a review. That's all I really ask for my contribution to you." And she said, "Of course." So I sent her a free credit, and I hadn't heard from her a couple of weeks. And what I did not realize was she lived in the Carolinas right when Hurricane Florence was coming in. So about 4 days ago, I got a message from her saying, "Hey, my husband and I had to evacuate our home. While we were gone, we listened to your book and we loved it. It was great. We'll leave a review soon." I said, "Thank you, but holy hell, are you okay? Yeah, book, great. But are you all right? She's like, oh, no. Yeah, we no property damage. We're in South Carolina. It didn't hit us as bad, and it turned into a tropical storm. We're fine. But we drove through the rain and the storm, my husband and I and our kids, and we listened to your book. I'm like, you let kids listen to my book? She's like, well, they were asleep. But my husband and I shared your story together. Right. And normally he reads your books, but something about he and I bonding over that during our drive was special. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you're safe and thank you, but please, I hope everything's okay. But it was just one of those methods, like it goes back to say, people just sharing the book. And I guess at some point she might look back on that. Her and I was like, remember the time we had to evacuate our home, but we listened to this book together? And I wasn't there, but it feels like I'm glad I helped them through a quasi-dark time, because Lord only knows what could have happened to their home.
Well, I think that's the beauty of what books can do. I mean, look, the world that we live in is complicated, to say the least. And so, at the end, if you can write something, or in my case, do television or whatever, that gives people a 3-hour or 2-hour or a 90-minute or a half-hour break, it gives them a laugh. It takes them on a ride, if it's like your stuff, which takes you on a really cool kind of an adventure. Then I'm cool. Then I've done my job. And you've done your job. We've entertained you. Which is all we can do, and that's all we're trying to do, is tell stories. You do an outstanding job of telling stories in your books, and I think that's kudos to you on that. And that's why I think people are warming up to your books rather quickly, and why you're building a great audience. And I think what they're doing is they're finding, you know what, Gibby's got a story here that I've never heard before, and I kind of like it, and it's cool, and it's fun. Take me on that ride. And so they're committing to that ride, and you're delivering. And we hope that you can keep doing that, because what you're doing is a lot of fun. And I know that the audio book world is definitely warming up to you. And I'm just happy that we had a chance to chat about it.
Thank you so much. I just want to give a quick shout out to my publishing house, Amber Cove Publishing, who gave me a home. Without them, I couldn't have done what I did. So Jim Bernheimer, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And my friend Charles Phipps, who introduced us. His writing is another inspiration, and he also works with Amber Cove. And we're just trying to make our voices heard. And for anybody of your listeners, whether you read one of my books or listen to them or not, audiobooks are a phenomenal way to have like 8 to 12 hours of just being entertained for a reasonable price, and it's cheaper than a movie ticket for 2. So
there you go. And speaking of that, do me a favor. What we want to do is give us the titles of your books and where we can find them.
All right, sure. From my Technomancer series, the books are To Beat the Devil is the first one, Flotsam Prison Blues is the second, Angels and the Bad Man is the third, and I'm currently working on the fourth. The Shadow Master series is Villain's Rule, followed by Villain's Pride. That's a comedic action one. And my sixth book is She Dreams of Fire, a Hammer of Witches novel. And I'm currently working on the third Villain's book, Villain's Deception. You can find all of them on Amazon or Audible, if that's your preference. I believe the audiobooks are also on iTunes, on their audiobook page as well.
Sure.
I believe Nook Store still carries them as well. If you just search my name, mkgibson.com, you can find my website. Occasionally I put up a funny blog about some dumb thing that pops into my head, but also I have links to all my books that way. Amber Cove Publishing is another way to find me and the books that we put out. And yeah.
There you go. Well, Gibby, it's been a pleasure, my friend, and we'll be following you, and we'll put all that information down in the show box, and hopefully in the not-too-distant future, we'll have a chance to chat again.
Jim, thank you for this opportunity. You've been great, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Anytime, buddy. We'll be right back with more of Stream On right after this. Hey, everybody, let me tell you a little bit about my new friends at Vivid Seats. Now, do you have the Vivid Seats app on your phone? Well, I do. Why? Because Vivid Seats is an online ticket event marketplace dedicated to providing fans of live entertainment with the experience of a lifetime. And believe me, my friends, they do. With Vivid Seats, you can find a seat to any of your favorite live events. Doesn't matter if it's a sporting event, concerts, theater, and much, much more. Now, in the past week, I booked tickets to see Steely Dan, Fleetwood Mac, Penn and Teller. Plus, I got seats for events in Philly and New York when I'll be there later this fall. So from D.C. to Philly to New York, not a problem. Didn't have any problem whatsoever booking my fall entertainment planning schedule, doing it all from my phone using my Vivid Seats app. And it cannot be any easier, my friends. I'm telling you right now, I could have sat anywhere in these arenas. I just picked the seat that fit me, best. And why? Because Vivid Seats gives me so many different options. You can pick different parts of an arena, different parts of a theater venue, not a problem, using your Vivid Seats app. Now, I can't tell you how easy it was. As I said, all that fall planning, did it on my phone. It was purchasing as simple as you possibly can have it. A very enjoyable experience. Now, I've got a little bit of a deal for you here, so by all means, pay attention. Ready? With the podcast code Williams, Stream On listeners can receive 10% off your first purchase with Vivid Seats. Let me say that again. Using my name, Williams, okay, Stream On listeners can receive 10% off your first purchase with Vivid Seats by using that code, okay? My code, Williams, Stream On listeners get 10% off your first purchase at Vivid Seats. How easy is that? Come on. All you need to do is go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, enter the promo code Williams, and get 10% off your first purchase with Vivid Seats. All right? And look, Vivid Seats confirmed orders are back 100% with their guarantee. All right? So you know that when you buy these seats, A, the quality seats, and B, you've got that guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Download the Vivid Seats app. That's right. Go to the App Store or Google Play. Download the Vivid Seats app. Get 10% off your first purchase with Vivid Seats by using the promo code Williams. Do it, folks. Do it now. Okay, special thanks to M.K. Gibson, Gibby, for joining us. I know you're going to want to check out his books on Amazon. All that information is in our show box, so be sure to check it out. All right? Okay, so that just about wraps it up this week right here on Stream On with Jim Williams. We hope that you have an outstanding weekend. Join us next time right here on Stream On.